Hi,
Shona.
We're going to start off with a look at the markets this morning.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at Asia first, where we're seeing a mixed day of trading so far. We're seeing shares in Shanghai down at a 10-day low. This as the government in Beijing said that new home prices had risen 7.7% in March from a year earlier, and that's indicating a slowdown in the momentum for the property market there. We saw not a bad day on Wall Street on Thursday. It was actually the last day of the trading week. U.S. and European markets are closed this Friday to mark the Easter weekend. The S&P 500 closed up just slightly, but it did represent a gain of 2.7% over the week. That was the best weekly gain since July of last year. And the markets did get quite a big lift from a new player on the trading scene. Weibo, which is the Chinese version of Twitter, made its debut on the Nasdaq this Thursday. It got a bit of a lukewarm start. We saw the microblogging site initially raising a less than expected $286 million during its initial flotation. It did rebound during trading, finishing up about 19%. So certainly not a bad performance for its first day, but it's nothing like what we saw from the original Twitter itself. Twitter shares soared 73% during its debut last November. Still, Weibo's chairman said that he was very pleased with his company's performance.
Obviously, I'm very happy, and especially given the market, has not been doing great in the last couple of weeks, and I think the performance has been terrific for us.
Let's turn to the skies now. And here in France, an aircraft manufacturer thinks that Africa is the next land of opportunity.
Yeah, struggling aircraft manufacturers around the world have really looked to Asia and South America for economic growth, but those regions are beginning to lag, and the European manufacturer ATR is turning its attention to Africa. It welcomed a Pan-African delegation to its headquarters in Toulouse this week. Our correspondent Chris Bachman sent us this report.
30 African ambassadors in Paris on their way to the HQ of the world's biggest turboprop maker, ATR, based in Toulouse. The playmaker believes Africa is ripe for business and wants to start by winning over the continent's envoys. With economic growth in much of Africa at close to 7% a year, the continent needs to invest in new transport infrastructure to boost trade even further.
And we are just at the beginning. After Asia and Center of America, South America, the next one will be Africa. And the economic growth and the traffic are two parallel lines.
ATR argues it'll be cheaper and faster for African countries to develop their air transport networks than road system. It's a message that seems to be getting across.
We are basically an agricultural country. We produce a lot for ourselves, but also for the neighbors. And it is very important to have a transportation network to reach the markets.
And people don't have time to spend 6, 7, 8 hours on the road. So this cuts that time and gives people time to go to see an area where they want to put up a factory, say in eastern Uganda or northern Uganda. They can quickly go up, look at the terrain, look at the opportunities, fly back, take a plane back and get out of Uganda.
The ambassadors were shown around the airplane maker's factory floor. Both ATR and its chief rival, the Canadian playmaker Bombardier, see a market for 400 turboprops in Africa.
Unthinkable just a few years ago, ATR believes it could do as much as $8 billion worth of business with Africa over the next 20 years.
Let's move on to some of the day's other business headlines now. 2 former executives of Anglo-Irish Bank have been found guilty of fraud. The first convictions related to the banking crisis that brought Ireland's economy to its knees. Patrick Whelan and William McAteer were found guilty on 10 counts of making illegal loans designed to prop up their ailing bank's share prices. The same jury in Dublin earlier acquitted the former chief executive on similar charges. In the U.S., the man who oversaw the cleanup of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill has reached a deal to settle charges of insider trading. Keith Seelan, a former BP employee, was accused of selling $1 million worth of BP shares after receiving information about the severity of the oil spill in 2010, information that was not publicly available at the time. He has neither admitted nor denied the allegations, but agreed to pay over $224,000 to settle the lawsuit. And a vote of little confidence in book giant Barnes & Noble from the company's founder. Leonard Riggio has reduced his stake in the U.S. book chain to 20%, selling shares worth $64 million. Like many other traditional booksellers, Barnes & Noble has struggled to compete against online retailers that offer lower prices.
And finally, it's been a bad week for Uber as the taxi service has been banned from a second European city.
Yeah, first Brussels earlier this week and now Berlin, as a German court blocked some of the services offered by that app-based driving system. Now, the San Francisco startup has been growing quickly. It's backed by Google, and it's met with phenomenal success in the United States. It's based on a smartphone app that connects passengers with drivers, but it has faced fierce opposition from traditional taxi firms. Earlier this week, Brussels banned it altogether, and now Berlin has ruled that it's really more of a car hire service than a taxi service. It's not been blocked altogether there yet, but clearly Uber's bid to expand internationally is going to be facing some roadblocks. It's going to have to do some more work there.
All right, well, we'll be keeping an eye on that story. Thank you very much, Kate Moody, for joining us with the business news. And now it's time to take a tour of the day's hotspots on the web.
Emotions are running high on the